Hi guys, welcome to Tina's Tasty Treats. Today we're going to be making a focaccia. And I know everyone's been on this bread making craze, so I decided I would share with you one of my personal favorite recipes. So, we first need to bloom our yeast, 1 teaspoon into 2 1/4 cups of lukewarm water, roughly 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Any hotter and you'll kill the yeast. 2 teaspoons of agave. And you can use any sweetener. The purpose of the sweetener is to help feed the yeast. So while this is sitting for 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see it bubble, and that's when you know that your yeast is alive. If it's not, it's probably dead, you should get a new batch. And while that's sitting, we're gonna move on to making, putting all of our dry ingredients together. So this is 5 cups of flour, all-purpose. We're going to add to this 1 tablespoon of salt. And roughly 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Okay. We're gonna mix this until homogeneous, and then after the yeast has bloomed, we're gonna add this in slowly. So now that our yeast mixture is ready, you'll start to see these little bubbles on the surface. So we're gonna add this slowly to our flour mixture with the dough hook attachment, and we're gonna knead it for about 5 minutes, okay? So the dough's been kneading for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and scrape down the sides, make sure that no flour is sticking to the bottom. Make sure that it's all thoroughly mixed in. And it is. All right, perfect. So now I'm just gonna lightly oil my hands so the dough doesn't stick. Just a little bit. Kind of get it off the hook. I forgot to mention before, this is the perfect time to use a really good olive oil. It's gonna be a prominent flavor in your dough, so you don't really want to skimp out on it. Perfect. We're gonna take it out of the bowl, and with your hands, just try and like form it into a ball. The quicker you go, the less sticky it'll be. Form into a ball, and then in the same bowl or a different bowl, you choose. I'm just gonna be conservative and use the same bowl. Drizzle some olive oil at the bottom of the bowl. Kind of mix it all around. Throw your dough back into the bowl, just like so. More olive oil on top. I'm just gonna kind of massage it into the dough, into the walls of the bowl, so it doesn't stick. And then we're gonna throw this into the fridge, let it rest for 12 to 18 hours. Just like that, okay? Wrap it with some plastic. And like I said before, 12 to 18 hours in the fridge, and you will see it double in size. So also make sure that your bowl is twice as large as the dough that you're making, okay? Okay. Now that it's been 12 to 18 hours later, you can see that it's doubled in size. And I know it's touching the plastic, but if you actually oil the top of your dough, it won't stick, it'll come off super smoothly. Just like that, look, beautiful. And the reason why we let it sit overnight is to really help enhance its natural flavors. So take a half sheet pan. If you don't have one of these 2 9x13 baking pans will also work. So take your olive oil, drizzle the bottom of the pan, and I believe there is never too much oil. Season it with some salt, but not too much, just lightly, because you're gonna season the top as well. We don't want it to be too salty for anybody. Okay. And gently take it out of the bowl. Comes out so easily because you oiled it. And now, this is the fun part about making this dough, is you get to kind of jab it. You can really feel how spongy it is. At this point, we're going to let it rest for 30 minutes. Do this process again, let it rest for another 30 minutes for a total of an hour. So we're gonna try and shape the dough into the same shape as your sheet pan or your pan that you're baking it in, but be gentle. You don't want to force the dough to do anything it doesn't want to do. We really want that gluten to be formed and not ripped. All right, perfect. I don't think it'll really go any further, so we're just gonna let this rest for 30 minutes and I'll come back and do the same process and spread it out some more. So the first half hour has passed and we're going to lightly dab our fingers into the excess oil and shape it again. And this will be the last shaping. And we're gonna let it rest for the final 30 minutes. And in this time, we're going to prep all our ingredients for the focaccia. This is one of the reasons why I love this bread recipe, because you can really turn it into anything that you want. It's super versatile. You can add whatever you want on top. Okay. Let it sit for another half hour, about 15 minutes. I'll show you how I prep my focaccia. So we're on the final stage of resting the dough. First thing I did was preheated my oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is the part when you can get really creative about your toppings. And I've got a large garden full of herbs, so I'm gonna focus my focaccia around that. So I've got some rosemary, some thyme, and some shallots as well. I also have here some hot water, about 2 ounces, with a teaspoon of salt. This will really help create like a salt crust on top of the focaccia. So I'm going to take 3 sprigs of rosemary, just right off of the stem. You can chop it up if you'd like, but I personally prefer the look that it gives after. So I also added 3 large sprigs of thyme, and I've got 2 small shallots, so maybe 1 large one. And I'm going to thinly slice this as well and then season it. I'm gonna add my shallots to my herb mixture and just kind of move it around lightly, just kind of break up all the individual onions. Okay, and then we're gonna season this with some salt and olive oil. And then we'll reserve this for when we bake up the focaccia. So our oven is almost at 450 degrees. We're going to take our salt mixture and we're going to brush it onto the bread. Okay, now that it's all brushed, we're going to drizzle it with some olive oil. All right, now we're going to throw this into the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. actually is very important in a focaccia bread. That's why you need a really good oil. And we're not gonna add the herbs or onions yet. We're gonna add that in at the last 10 minutes because we want them caramelized, not burnt. Gorgeous. So we're a little past the 15-minute mark, so you can really see the color starting to form. It looks gorgeous, smells like a bakery in here. We're going to add on our shallots and herbs at this point. Get it everywhere. If your bread doesn't look this dark yet, I would throw it back in for another 5 minutes because you don't want your onions or herbs to burn. Okay. Throw it back in the oven for 10 more minutes. This is exactly what I want from my focaccia. Nice golden brown color. You can really smell the aromatics from the herbs and the shallots. This part is super crucial. The moment it comes out, put it straight onto a wire rack. Otherwise, the bottom will get super soggy and you'll lose that crunch that you worked so hard to get. We're gonna let this rest for another 5 minutes and then we can bite into it. Now we can finally cut into it. I've been waiting patiently for this moment. I'm just gonna cut it down the center just so I can show you guys what it looks like. Oh, look at that, nice and airy. Okay, and now try. It's super light, very airy, and it's not oily at all. You think that would be because of how much oil we put in it, but it's delicious. It's got this like salty crust, and I love adding herbs to it because it really adds this herbaceousness. Let me know what you think of my recipe. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time on Tina's Tasty Treats.